Are you interested in becoming a permanent part of the channel or having a direct impact on the type of content that I create? Well, now you can check out the Alliteration Gaming Patreon. Throughout it, you're going to find a handful of different tiers that can include special perks like shoutouts on the supporter card at the beginning of all my videos, access to the private channel in my Discord, and the ability to watch all of my content on Patreon a couple weeks early and totally ad-free. On top of that, the different video tiers will let you commission videos directly from me. We can build a deck together, you can send me some gameplay to commentate, or even select a character for me to spotlight. You can also now join the Alliteration Nation by becoming a channel member on YouTube. Pledging your subscription here is going to grant you a same spot on that supporter card and access to that same Discord channel, as well as hook you up with a member's badge that levels up and access to emotes when I stream on YouTube. I'm going to have the Patreon link down below to check out, and the Discord should you want to join that. And if you want to become a channel member, the join button is what you want to hit. If you end up supporting my work in any way, thank you so much. I'm incredibly grateful, and I can't wait to provide you with more top-notch content at my trademark top speed. Now, let's get on to the video. Good evening, my dear viewers, and welcome to another Alliteration gaming video. My name's Levi, and we're going to be doing another build a deck. Once again, I've got Moo Hates You coming back onto the channel to showcase an order symbol Shoto Todoroki 3 deck that they've brought to me. Probably Shoto 3's least thought of symbol, just due to the fact that it doesn't have any of the character stacking support from the twice symbols. However, it's going to be looking to enable this type of like order, commit, and freeze and defensively stun all your stuff package that I myself have been looking into a lot as a deck lately. So let's jump right in and see how the two of us can envelop this concept together for this deck. So obviously you have kind of given me the pitch for this deck already. I have told you that I'm super familiar with the concept and I've been playing it for myself, but for the lovely people at home, tell me what the strat, what the play-by-play is on this order Shoto 3 deck.
Yeah, so this one is like, it's a very rough draft. It was just, throwing it together, seeing how I liked it. But the general idea is committing and or freezing your opponent's foundations is great. And it's even better to do it on their turn. Like, League Invitation is the entire reason this is on the order symbol. Mm-hmm. It got brought up, like, the last time you and I did a deck tech, it got brought up. And I played it, a few events. I played it in other decks, and I love this card. I have fallen in love with this card. That bottom enhance, it is like there's a lot of words to say. Your opponent chooses between stun 2 or I target stun 1.
Right, and that's like best case scenario for them, right? Like sometimes they rip the 3 off the top and you're just like, well, I suppose you do get, yeah, I mean, we love Electric Jolt in this house. We love Electric Jolt in this house.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, like this, personally speaking, this is the DLC card that interests me. The words commit and freeze, those are cool words. We love those words. As you said, committing during your rival's turn is super strong. It's basically stun 1 2 times. And then if you commit and freeze it, it's like stun 1 3 times, right? Because like you commit and freeze, right, on their turn, they don't get it aggressively. It's back to you. They don't get it defensively. It's back to them. It's frozen now. They don't get aggressively. Like it's fantastic. And it's really, really good, especially when it's targeted like Shoto is, right? He has to work a little tough to get it, but thankfully, as you said, we're on the order symbol, so we have a lot of it. And I think it's when you really, I've been really in love with this like concept as a deck for a long time, just this order deck that's gonna sit there and just like commit all of your things during your turn and make it very hard for you to play the game. I think it's like a really cool deck concept, and Shoto is definitely a character that could be what we've been looking for to pilot that main deck best.
Yeah, for sure. And then the rest of the deck is, we're capitalizing on, we got the Indiscriminate Shock. We're capitalizing on all those committed foundations. The bottom enhance on Todoroki, you can use that defensively or offensively. And so, we got the sense of justice, the creepy realization, just lean more into like, hey, maybe your Texas Smash is 0 damage. What if we did that?
One of the first things I thought of when I saw this guy was, oh man, I want to play Shoto with 4 Sense of Justice and just try and 0 damage out attacks. Just because, like, I'm the biggest spooky lover ever. I was like, I want to play pseudo spooky 0 damage out a move here. This seems like such a fun time. Creepy is amazing to stack on that. Challenging can make it even more punishing. You know, the good old take 0, your next check is -2. We love that. Again, just like all about making your rival have a really bad time, and I love that. So as far as the stuff I want to talk about with this deck, I do have a couple things in mind. And before we even get on, because I usually start with the attacks, you know, but I think before we get onto the attacks, I want to show you 2 cards that I think, for me personally, when thinking about this deck as a concept, this order, stun everything, defensively commit your stuff, freeze, yada 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 deck. There's 2 cards that I think under the order symbol really bring that package together, and it's Conflict of Ideologies and Flex Your Might.
Okay.
So these 2 cards together are super sick. If we get the draw 2 off of Flex, that's very cool. But the big thing is it sits there and says when our attack deals damage, your rival commits a foundation. Conflict says after attack deals damage, freeze a rival asset or foundation. The fact that this can freeze assets is kind of spooky, actually. And the big thing where that plays into our deck here is we've got 4 Jolts and 4 Grasping Tape Toss. These are 8 cards that unconditionally activate both of these abilities.
Okay. Yeah.
So you just, you know, you block, you take half, you block, you take 1, and then I just get to go, okay, here's Conflict, freeze something, here's Flex Your Might, commit something. And I think that can really play into this whole game plan. And the reason I'm mentioning like these cards first is that they will kind of dictate what other attacks we might put into our deck.
Okay.
So you've got the whole, you know, just play anything with stun 1 or freeze on its face, which I don't mind. You've also got like a bunch of lows here, right? So you're gonna like tax them pretty heavily on the 1.3, and then we can make these other low attacks 1.3 with our face, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everyone says that, you know, double or triple 1.3 is just gonna kill everyone. It's like, you know, double, triple tongue whip, anything like that. You know, just accidentally murder people, which I do like as far as zone checking them. But if we're gonna go more the kind of like so the big thing with the Flex Your Might and the Conflict engine is it might put us more towards running things like Half Hot Ignition and Reverse Throw, and just kind of make a very annoying attack lineup that is going to really consistently activate those cards.
Okay.
Alternatively, there's also just really generically good options. Vile Season is kind of just one of those, like, yeah, you can put this in any deck on these symbols. It's very good. It does also have, you know, that theme in a sense of you've got to commit your stuff, or you can just always look at it as a 3 hive for 6 that draws a card on a 4 diff with a 1 high block breaker 1 and a game-ending deadlock. Those are all great things. Deadlock,
for sure, yeah,
is for sure something to think about here, because when we're a deck that's going to constantly put pressure on the rival's board like this, we're probably going to force them past 10 foundations at some point, because we're just going to reach a point where we have the cards to, like, you know, commit and freeze like 3 or 4 of their things every turn, and your rival's just not going to be able to play the game on 6-7 foundations, right? So they're just going to have to go into deadlock. So Grasping Tape Toss is already, you know, one of the best deadlock threats around, but if we could pick up some more, that would be really sick. That's also where things like Justice Rush could come in. I think Justice Rush could be pretty sick in this deck, just as like a, here's my opener, it's 3 mid for 7, stun 1, you have to block it, you might have to commit some things to block it, and then like late game, when we've got some momentum, which with all of our guaranteed hit cards, we're probably going to have a lot of momentum in this deck, we just get to put damage for all your committed stuff, and then EX for it, and like, we're in there like swimwear. And then Final Smash is also just a super good generic, you know, 4 diff 5 high for 6 that makes your next check great. We've got 4 Passing the Torch in our deck, so sometimes it also says target draw a card from your discard pile. Just a very good card. And then if you wanted to lean more into the lows still, I think Vanquishing Punch is pretty good, just as a low attack with big damage and stun 1.
Yeah, the abundance of lows was kind of just incidental. I was looking for the stun, I was looking for the freeze, so it was just kind of like, oops, I have, you know, 12 lows in this deck, so I'm not like, oh yeah, we have to keep to that plan. So
Yeah, I think because like my main thing here is just if our rival, like if they catch on, right, they might just like hold a bunch of low blocks and then we're pretty bad at threatening them. We also do have like always have the alternate win con. Like if we're including like reverse throw in the deck, we then just keep that alternate win con of I'm gonna put 5 damage on a throw and every turn, and eventually you will just cease to exist, right? That can be like our bully 7-hander strat. By that nature, I also think Tape Swing would be insane in this deck, especially to play with the Flex Your Might and the Conflict. But I don't know if we can make a Foundation lineup that allows us to run 2 checks too freely.
For sure, yeah. One of the things that makes me nervous is with the 3 extra copies of the character, we kind of have 7 3 diffs.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we want to be able to slam Shoto as our first Foundation going first turn 1 and not have to fear. And I think that, and we're also very, very hot on League Invitation. Those things combined, I think, just make it so that we're probably not. There could be a variant like of this type of deck that runs Tape Swing, but it's probably just not a Shoto 3-1.
Yeah,
because we gotta play these characters nonstop. So kind of explaining, the thought process behind all these moves. What's does any of those things kind of scream at you? We can go full force on the just be very annoying with guaranteed damage, the half hots and the reverses. We can play some really generically good cards like Vile Seizing, Final Smash. We could play Justice Rush to just smack people and have more deadlock. There's a lot of ways we could go filling out this Smashing Nomu and Ice Geyser slots.
Yeah, I do like the idea of the throw, the reverse throw.
Mm-hmm.
I was playing like Ojiro 1 last week, just an unconditional +3 damage. You add that to a throw.
Yeah.
We have unconditional up to 5 damage, and it is wild how good just unconditional here's a good handful of damage onto a throw. It is wild how good that is. So yeah. I really like the reverse throw.
I do too. I think the half hot might be pushing it a little bit. I think having 12 cards that are going to 12 out of our 20 attacks guaranteeing damage, and so they guarantee our conflict and flex plays. 12 is probably enough there. So I do like the reverse throw, and again, it does give us that alternate win con of just I'm gonna ping you to death with all the extra damage on these throws. You have to take half. If we get to put 4 on this, it guaranteed draws a card, which is also very sick.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and keeping in mind block zones, this does take a low out of our deck and then puts a low back in. So it's going to be pretty okay. Hopefully we can touch up our zones a little bit because they are a little scary for a 7-hander. We're like a little bit low on the highs and lows, but it's not too bad. It's not too bad.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, we can try and find some tapes into the deck. So with that being said, we've got our reverse throws in there. So out of these remaining 4 attacks that we've got to look at, any of them screaming out to you?
I mean, Vile Seizing is always wild.
Yeah. Also helps out our high blocks. Gives us a little bit of breaker in our defensive long game deck. I mean, I'm always down for Vile Seizing, man.
Yeah. I did also like the idea on Justice Rush, like. It's a conditional stun, but, it's our first attack, whoop-de-doo. That's not a huge, condition on that. And, yeah, when it goes long, we're probably just going to be eventually have that card say, take 10 damage.
It very well could be. Very well could be. Both of them also give us another very, very good deadlock. Add 2 from your hand to momentum, then draw 2 is crazy. It fuels its own EX. It's going to fuel stuff like our shock treatment. That's another big part, I think, about playing all these guaranteed damage attacks. It makes shock treatment even more nuts in our deck because momentum becomes so much less of a resource.
True. I sort of lean towards Vile Seizing because we already have 8 5-diff attacks.
Yeah.
So, but like... I'm not used to playing 7-handers. I'm not sure how often we're going to be chaining a lot of attacks. We're much more of a poke deck. Like, poke and then way down the line, we finish you off.
Yeah, I think you're mostly going to be looking to, toss out your throw or your jolt, put a couple extra damage on it, guarantee proc things like your conflicts, you know, get a commit and, you know, build a 3 diff, get a commit and freeze off, right, and then just kind of like chillax. Yeah, I think I'm into the Vial season a little bit more. The only thing is like it suddenly makes the threats in our deck a lot smaller because it's like actually just indiscriminate. I look at this attack lineup and I kind of think, how do we kill anyone if they just always hold a low block? But then we get to make like anything indiscriminate, right? So it's probably fine. It's like probably okay. You know, everything else is super blockable, even when it is indiscriminate. I mean, Jolt does have EX, right? It does have EX. Yeah. I think it's okay, especially with like the League Invitation being like incidental +2 speed, right?
Yeah.
I think it's probably just fine if you're playing the deck and you just are having trouble closing out games. You know, like, because like there are gonna be games where like the rival just threatens you really, really hardcore early on, and suddenly your whole like slow poke, throw, buff damage, always take half game plan is feeling very lacking, and you're gonna be like, oh my god, I gotta find 28 damage right now. How do I do it? You know, if they held a low block, you know, those scenarios might feel bad, but it's also possible that we have enough commit and freeze in our whole system for that to be enough defense to not have to pressure us into those scenarios where we need that much aggression.
For sure. Yeah, and I do kind of like the Justice Rush as just like, here's a sideboard option. Like,
yeah,
we play game 1, we're like, hey, we really need just a good finisher, a better, you know, better pressure, another good finisher, and we just side it in.
Yeah, I think you keep it in mind for sure. I think you keep it in mind most definitely. Most definitely. But you know, but for now, I think this looks really, really, really sick. Now, going into the actions, we probably have to sacrifice one of these to play Flex Your Might. I do love Engine Trouble in this deck, just as like that defensive commit. I do think that is really sick, but I think it probably has to go if we want the flexes in there.
That's fair. Yeah, it was in there as like a low block breaker, and if we really wanted to, here's, you know, some extra commit when we really need it.
Oh, I love this card. I really, really love this card. If there were not 2 other actions that we wanted to play, I would be so all over it. I just don't think that we can get rid of Showdown. I think a Showdown is probably too good.
Yeah, Showdown is so good. You know, shut off your action, and also, hey, I'm gonna block and commit to.
Yeah, this card's just crazy. This card literally says you're now passing back into me with at least 2 committed foundations, and I'm Shoto 3, right? Like it's just a match made in heaven.
Oh yeah.
So I think we could cut the 2 Engine Troubles and just put the 2 Flex Your Mights in. That's probably Gucci.
Sounds good to me.
Seems like a nice little action lineup. Now let's look at these foundations. So I have a bunch of foundations here, but honestly, most of them are just like generically like ordered good stuff, right? Like tape, bonds, self-sacrifice, lineage. You know, these are just kind of like generically good order cards that like might find their way into the deck, but they're not really ones that I want to focus on per se. First order of business though, as far as one's focusing on, I want to get 4 conflicts into this bad boy. I think this is the world. This is the world we want to create. Do we have a Fury? Oh, okay, we have a Fury with Vial Seizing. So like the second ability does exist sometimes, which is kind of nice. But I think what we really want to do is just say like, hey, I'm going to stun you out a bunch. I'm going to send my throw at you, and then I'm just going to commit a bunch of these and say you don't get all of your best pieces next turn. I think that's just like so good.
Oh yeah.
So as far as I think we're at 60 cards exactly, right? You did send me a pure 60 card deck. I think as a 7-hander that mostly wants to poke and not string, we have a little bit of leeway to maybe enter like the 65-ish territory and still maintain just our 20 attacks. At the same time though, if we want to put more attacks in, I think it's also okay because we have this Justice Rush, right? That we were really, really wanting to get into the deck.
Yeah.
But let's just see how the numbers play out. As far as your split goes, you've got 3, 5, 8, 12, 15 spams, meaning you've got 18 non-spams. So I probably don't want to dig into our spams too much. As far as non-spams that could go, man, these are all like really, really big parts of our game plan. I think challenging might be like the only flexible one.
Yeah, it's been it was really tough to knock down any of the 2 or 3 diffs. Like they're all so good. I wish there was some magical Christmas land where I could just shove like 4 of all of these and have
Yeah.
it be a real deck. But I kind of agree. Like challenging the fakes was just kind of a cute, like, hey, maybe stop attacking me. Like,
Yeah. No, it is good. If it just didn't have that whole failing the next check is fine thing. That's like really because like sometimes like it's just one of those cards where like when your rival is like really like they have the attack string, right, but they have it just barely. They have just enough of what they need to go off. This card just says you got to throw one away now, and it's so detrimental. But sometimes they just have all the moves and like, okay, cool, I'll just throw an attack out, fail it, and then resume my string with the better attack.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a very give and take card. When it is really good, it's very good. I would probably still side it just for like certain matchups, It's really good against anything like any punch decks. It's really good when they want to like Texas +4 to the next. You're like, oh, well, sounds like you're feeling your next, buddy. Staff strike decks, it's very good against pretty much anything that wants to pass stuff. Ochako 2, it's very good against to like basically negate her plus. It's certainly something I would sideboard, but I think when it comes to getting all of our new non-spams in, it's probably the only one that can go.
Yeah. Okay.
So let's keep in mind our 65 range here. We'll cut the challenging and then just put the 4 conflicts in.
Okay.
And so that brings us to 62, and we'll kind of keep that in mind. As far as other things that I really would like to see in the deck, I am the biggest fanboy ever of the Almighty Proud Scion. This card is insane. You cannot give me a symbol that doesn't have a staple target for this card to hit. You can't do it. It hits Specialist of Sound. It hits Heroic Lineage. It hits Pull No Punches. It hits Ice Glidings. It hits Think Fasts. Like, there are so many things that this hits. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I fully admit had not actually read Proud Scion before this.
Most people have not. So like for a similar experience, I've been playing a Void Weapons Stain 2 deck that's doing a very similar thing as this. It's just it's more so relying on Stain to commit and freeze things, and then it's playing like class lineups, the set 3 character only asset to commit stuff. And then it's playing like a bunch of Proud Scions, and you just go like, I'll build Proud Scion, I'll build class lineup turn 1, and then they're like, I like can't build any of my foundations now because they just get committed. This card's really crazy. Targeted committal, it's just again, there's so many things it hits. A speed bonus or penalty is like half the foundations in the game nearly. it's so many. It hits pretty much every Chaos 0 in the whole game, right? Like it's hitting basic training, it's hitting easily excited. It hits snack time. Like, dude, Snack time is such a good card, and saying no to snack time is that's a good ability. It's so good. And one of the big things too about this card is it plays your deadlock games really well because it can commit a lot of troublesome things with deadlock, like stuff like Pull No Punches or Snack Time. A lot of those really incidental earth deadlocks, right? It's really good at committing those, which means they don't get to pressure you with those deadlocks. And then when they go into deadlock themselves, it's got an insane deadlock. Cancel anything in your stage and then flip it. That's crazy. That hits assets and foundations. Yeah. It's wild. So then when they finally do activate that one deadlock ability that threatens you, you just go, no, I'll cancel it, and now that threat is gone forever. It's a card that scales really well, because like in the early game, it's going to commit those crucial foundations. In the late game, it's going to cancel those crucial deadlocks and get rid of them forever. All of that being said, we've got 4 League Invitations in here, and we've got 3 characters. So we have a lot of 3 diffs in our deck. I think it would be like a solid 2 of.
Okay.
I think it'd be like a solid 2 of. So let's just throw those in there. That basically puts us at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 3 divs, which like is a lot. It is a lot.
Yeah.
It might be too many if you're playing the game and you're just like, I'm getting way too flooded with these. It's not worth it. You know, feel free to, you know, mess around with your numbers
Sure.
a little bit. You know, maybe League Invitation could be like a 3 of. You know, it's tough because like you're kind of okay seeing like multiples of these in most scenarios. You just are because they're okay to stack with. But as far as like opening them, right, League is probably a little bit more important in that regard.
Yeah, for sure.
I would love to get a couple more spams in here because our spam ratios are like very aggressive now. We do have a bunch of zeros. Which I do really enjoy. Our low blocks are also looking a little scary. It's possible that we could manipulate our zeros around to make those better. Like the desperate times could maybe become the gotchas.
Okay. Yeah.
We could put desperate times at a 1. We could put gotcha at a 4, and then I think that puts us to 18 low blocks, 19 high blocks, and 27 mids. So we've evened ourselves out pretty nicely there. I'm not sure there's really any other mids that we can cut out the deck. 2 shock treatment is still very, very, very good. We like have to play passing. We just kind of have to. We're at our 64 card count now. I'm trying to think of if there's any way we could get more spams into this deck, but man, I really don't want to cut any of our non-spams. Like 4 Sense of Justice is really good because like it's better the more you see of them, because you're just much more likely to be able to 0 damage out and attack them.
For sure. Sense of Justice is another one of my just favorite cards. Everybody's like, this is an oddball deck because it's not running a keyword package.
Mm-hmm.
Like almost everybody is running a keyword package.
Yeah, no, that's what people have been telling me. They've been like, bro, what happens when your rival's just playing good stuff? I'm like, what good stuff deck exists? Like, Jiro is all charges and weapons. Tokoyami is like almost all ranged. Pretty much every fire deck ever is like all furies. Weapon decks are like everywhere. Everyone's trying to play a freaking weapon deck. Fury is like so popular right now. Like every death and order deck is just like Fury Central. I'm like, bro, there's packages everywhere, man. Everyone's like, this is a sideboard card. This is a sideboard card. I'm like, no, you're a fool. You're a fool. You're foolish.
Oh, yeah.
You're foolish. And like, it's got a good block. It's, you know, it's a good card. It's a good card. How do you feel about the spam ratio in here right now? I think it's like a little scary. Got 7, 8,
yeah,
15. We're 15 to 22.
Yeah, with the 9 3 diffs, that is a pretty intimidating spam ratio.
It is very, very intimidating, and like there's so many like good spams that also just like are good cards, right? Like that aren't in our deck that it makes me a little worried. Maybe Creepy could turn into a spam.
That's fair, because we're not stuffing the card pool. Creepy is essentially like Sense of Justice number 5 and 6 against most decks. So,
which isn't bad by any means. Like it's gonna be sometimes that last like couple damage that lets you zero it out, which is cool. But we do need our deck to function. We do need our deck to function.
It is also a 4-check.
It is a 4-check. It is a 4-check.
Like if we're gonna get rid of something, like, hey, 4-check is a mark against it.
It certainly is. I think we probably have enough zeros that I don't think you need to main saving Bakugos, especially with it being a mid block. You can just continue to sideboard that card if they're flipping your stuff too much. I think that's super duper fine. So it's really between like of these 5 right here: tape, bonds, self-sack, calling for backup, and kindle the flames. What seems attractive out of these?
I do like Kindle the Flames because we are trying to play a little more defensive.
We most certainly are.
So, I do also like calling for backup as like a, pseudo couple extra passing the torch.
Yeah. No, it is pretty nice. It is pretty darn nice. Just as like a little. It also like really like we toss our throw out there. We poke them. You know, we get our freezes off. We get to draw our extra card, replace itself, and we build from there. Like, it's so good for those turns. My only issue with those two is that they're both mid blocks and they're ugly ones.
And
mid blocks, they're not attractive.
yeah.
Ones.
Self-sack kind of leans into our like minus damage plan, and it's a low block, and it's a good low block.
It is a very good low block. It is going to help us survive. I also think it's our only way to control our deadlock, right? We don't have anything else that destroys our stage.
Yeah, I don't think we do.
No, we sure don't. So it lets us control our deadlock. It lets us put more damage on our throws, which is like sometimes relevant. These bolts start at 5, but like sometimes, you know, they'll have 3 committed things. It'll get reverse throw there. If they have a weird number of committed things, it could cross a threshold, right? Like say they have 3, tape toss goes from 8, and then now self stack makes it 9. You know, like if they have an odd number, right? It could cross some thresholds, which is also pretty nice. Yeah, I think self sack's the way to go.
Yeah, I like that.
I think we can cut 2 creepies, throw 3 self sacks in, and that puts us at that 65 card range. We're 20 attacks in 65, but we are going to draw a lot of cards. We're going to poke really, really, really well. And honestly, I think like you really want to build well with this deck. One of the strongest things you can do is like when you build those committing and freezing cards turn 1, and then turn 2 you just like poke and then like build 5, and you're like, I got like 9 foundations, you got like 4 or 5, 2 of them are now committed or frozen during your turn. How do you want to proceed? How do you want to go about this? Do you really want to attack me and let me minus your damage and then get like my 1 good block off and then hinder your build? You know, like, oh, it's such a it's a big skill check. It's really, really a big skill check.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man, I think this looks pretty good. The only thing that like really scares me now is that we don't really have any speed reduction in our our defensive 7-hander here. But you know, the game plan here is kind of, I mean, we have ice gliding, it's about it, but I mean, ice gliding is quite good. But I think like we're mostly reliant on our damage reduction and our defensive committal and freezing to just make sure the rival doesn't get to threaten us very well.
Yeah, and I mean, haven't played it yet. I like the odds. Like it feels like it's gonna be good enough. A lot of things.
Yeah, so, right. Like I'm gonna, you know, freeze your one thing, commit your other thing. You know, I'm gonna get like -5 damage on your last attack. I'm gonna get my 1 good block off. You know, and it's gonna be like a breaker block or a showdown block or something, and then you're done. You're done.
Yeah.
Pass into me. You're donezo, bro. You're donezo, bro. Yeah, I think this is really sick. I think like the only thing I hate about building this character on order is that you don't get any of the character building support, right? You don't get any of the twice stuff like you have on Chaos or Water. But I think being able to lean so heavily into this defensive committing and freezing package is going to be what just keeps us alive, especially with Jolts, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was a tough decision to go onto the order symbol, but I was like, oh, League Invitation is so good.
It's so good. It's so good, man. It's so good. It's so good. And like the coolest thing is like they have to play this entire game like always respecting 1.3 as well. You know, especially with the fact that you can put like pseudo speed on it with stuff like League Invitation, with ice gliding. It's like really, really scary. Our deadlock threats are really, really good now. We've got Proud Scions and You're Finished, which just says like the ones that I didn't get to commit, well, here they are now. That rest of your stage does not work. And Tape Toss and Vial Season are going to be like, yeah, bro, go to 11. I just triple dog dare you, man. I just triple dog dare you. Especially Tape Toss. Tape Toss is like, again, like those things that I didn't get to commit or freeze, right? They're just gone forever now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, dude. Any closing thoughts before I let you go here?
Let's see. What's our block zones?
Our block zones are now 19, 25, and 21, which I like.
Yeah, that's a lot better.
Levi likes. Yeah, dude. Yeah. I think this is premium, man.
Yeah, I think this looks pretty good. This looks fun. I'm not used to playing like the control characters, so I'm excited to like give that game plan a try. So yeah.
And there you have it, guys. That's the defensively commit and freeze everything in the world Shoto 3 order deck. This one was a ton of fun to work on, and it honestly might be even one that you see me sleeve up sometime soon. That being said, big thanks to Move for the support and for commissioning this video experience with me. And if you want something just like it, you can check out the Patreon linked down below. And if you enjoyed the video itself and just want to leave some nice feedback, the comment section is sitting right down there, and the like button is super easy to hit. All of that aside though, thanks just for making it to the end of this video, and I hope I can see you in the next one.